the sensitivity of what she's going through, but then also knowing that hair was a big part of my life in the sense of being a hairstylist. There was a lot of emotion, a lot going on, a lot going through my mind. And I am a firm believer that Jesus Christ allows things to happen for a reason. And I wanted to instill that in my child and letting her know that, like, from the very get-go, your life has a purpose and a plan. And no matter how you were created for this exact purpose.
Welcome again to a Wigs for Kids story that I think that you're going to enjoy, especially if you're a stylist someplace in the United States. I'm going to introduce you to Amber, who has been with Wigs for Kids and taking care of some very special people, especially someone in her own family. Amber, welcome to Wigs for Kids story. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good, and good to have you here. Tell us what you became from a stylist to a Wigs for Kids affiliate, a certified affiliate, and why you started into that area of adding to your career as a stylist.
This was a very personal decision for me. My daughter, at the age of 2, was diagnosed with alopecia. Well, when she was born, I had noticed that she had spots on her head that were bald, but she was a preemie, so I thought, they could develop over time, but I also was familiar with alopecia, going through hair school and everything. And when she was about 18 months old, we'd started to notice that her hair, when we put a clip in it, the hair that she did have would just break off. I noticed her eyebrows and her eyelashes were falling out. We started the journey of figuring out what exactly was going on. Wasn't sure if she had allergies for gluten or celiac disease or anything that with a malnourishment that could have been attributing to that. And they did confirm that she did have alopecia. So when she was diagnosed with that, I wanted to find a way to be able to help her, but also to use that as a way to help other families that are walking this journey as well, and to give back from that standpoint, and also to teach my daughter as she's growing up with alopecia. There's just so much going on in our world, and just people are uninformed and people are not always very kind. And so just being able to share her story and her journey, and that she's beautiful regardless, and, just be able to give back from that standpoint.
And, being a stylist, obviously knowing alopecia, that must have been hard as a mom. It's like being a doctor or a nurse. You knew a little bit too much when that child was born, and you said she had spots on her head, or you saw some spots.
Yes. I had noticed she was born with some bald spots, and so wasn't totally sure if it would actually be alopecia or if it was just from being a preemie. But
a mom, though, that has a child, newborn, and everything you put in your heart and soul is into that child. What did you feel as a mom with a child with alopecia? What went through your mind besides the stylist and all those other things? What was the emotions you went through?
Yeah, that was really rough because, like you said, kind of knowing a little bit about alopecia, and even going into that dermatologist that we were meeting with for her diagnosis, I just asked him pointed blank questions like, okay, I know what alopecia is. Don't beat around the bush with me. Do you think that she will ever have hair in the future? What degree do you think this is? And they said, she was one of very few kids that were actually born with alopecia. That is not a very common thing. And so he said, at some point, she probably will have absolutely no hair at all. As a mom and working in the hair industry, and so Desiree is also a twin, my child. She is a twin sister, and she has a ton of hair. I mean, she always has. And so just understanding, trying to put myself in her shoes as she's growing up, the comparison, and trying to understand, well, why does my sister have hair and I don't? And then also just as a mom, trying to navigate the sensitivity of what she's going through, but then also knowing that hair was a big part of my life in the sense of being a hairstylist. There was a lot of emotion, a lot going on, a lot going through my mind. And I am a firm believer that Jesus Christ allows things to happen for a reason. And I wanted to instill that in my child, and letting her know that, from the very get-go, your life has a purpose and a plan. And no matter how you were created for this exact purpose.
I could tell you had the faith, that not just only because of your middle tag, But I'm blessed by what you said, because I have the same identical belief. In regards to a mom going through that, and you know the fashion part of it, I'm sure that your mind went through, if she didn't have hair, would she be bullied? I'm sure, would she find a boy that would be so sensitive and caring that would marry her someday?
Yeah.
And would she be able to survive in this dog eat dog world, quote unquote, that we live in? That had to be really tough, especially when she was so young and you couldn't do anything about it at that time.
Exactly, because we did talk about some of the different treatments that there are. Her body was developing so much. I mean, kids' bodies develop so much in those early years, and I was not in a position to take that risk. We did get her tested for every other autoimmune disorder there is to be tested on. So for us at this point in our life, and for my daughter at 2 years old, I just was not willing to take that risk at that point in time. If she gets to a point where she starts asking more questions and is like, Mommy, I want to try some of these different creams or whatever, we can talk about it then more at that point. But for me, it was just more of like embracing who you are and being comfortable in your own skin. And there are other options out there. The turbans are super popular right now. Being able to get a wig through Wigs for Kids was a huge thing for us, because wig systems are not necessarily cheap, and you want something that's going to work well for a child, that they don't look abnormal. That was a big thing for us, and that was just the path that we decided to take, was no extra treatments at this time. And if we cross that road, we'll handle it then. If she starts asking more questions about that, we'll handle it then. But at this point in time, that was the decision we decided to go on.
Okay, so you went through all that with your mother, and it sounds like you got a great partner and your husband that supported that whole situation, not only in a name, but obviously he was there for you for many times that I'm sure that you had tears in your eyes or just weeping your eyes out. Because no matter how strong you are in front of the child, it's tough behind the closed doors. We know that because we work with so many parents. Moving forward, how do you find Wigs for Kids? And this little child needs now something beyond just being cuddled and held. How did you find Wigs for Kids?
I think I just started researching some of the different companies, and then actually the salon that I worked at, when I shared, my story with them, and I was saying to my boss at the time that I want to be able to find a way to not only help my daughter through this, but also to be able to keep giving back in the community around us and being able to help other families that are going through this. And I knew that as a stylist, I had a totally different ability to be involved than probably the normal person. They had already, at one point in time, they had become an affiliate salon. And so from that, I just kind of looked into Wigs for Kids, and I loved your guys' mission and values, and just felt like we aligned properly. And so then I just went on and decided to become a certified hairstylist through Wigs for Kids.
So you went through the video series that we put together and developed for that whole certification from the turban. Was your first recipient, your first child, your child?
Yes, it was.
How old was Desiree when you fit her?
2.5.
Oh, she's got to be one of our youngest ones. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. How old is she now? She's a couple years old?
She's 5. Yes, she's 5.
And you know what a lot of people don't realize, because the hair has had ponytails from all over the country, from all over the world that come in, virgin hair that people have donated, which is precious, the construction and the development. But we do that every year for a child in Wigs for Kids until they age out at 18. And people say, well, why do you need a new wig every year? Because these wigs would cost $4,000 or $5,000 if somebody would go try to buy this, if they could even find a virgin hairpiece with the prosthetic construction underneath it that you know of. The child's wearing a hairpiece generally every day, and maybe sleepovers and everything else. And don't you agree, they need a new hairpiece because they start to lose the hair and it starts to get, a little worn. And that can create even more of a problem, because if it looks bad, it looks wiggy, and ours don't look wiggy, as you know. But in turn, if it does look wiggy, there's more bullying or more problematic issues with their character and their self-esteem.
Definitely. I would agree with that. Yeah, Desiree, because she was so young, she wasn't wearing it every day, but it was more of, it was there if she wanted it. And now I've been noticing like we need to get her another one here soon, because I'm like, okay, she's been wearing it more often and wearing it to school. And then we live in Florida and it's hot and sweaty, you know, kind of things. It's one of those things that, yeah, we definitely are going to have to get her another one here soon. But I love the fact that she can receive and not have a new one every year, because like you said, they do get worn pretty hard, especially on children, especially if they feel more comfortable wearing it on a daily basis. So that it definitely is something that needs to be replaced often.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I continually coach our certified affiliates around the United States like yourself is that, especially the younger the child, and even some of the older ones, nobody wants a wig. They want their hair. We
Yes.
know that. So I always say, let the child move into this friendship with their hairpiece. So we've had them put it on the mannequin, paint the face of the mannequin, call it a name. We always want it to give a name. And it really then and I'll tell you a quick story, a mom who was so excited about getting the child a wig. I think the child was about 5 or 6 years old. And she came in and she just didn't want to put it on. And she was just really fussy. And I coached the mom. I said, just let her befriend it, put it in the inner room. Well, a week goes by and she calls me and nothing's happening. And 2 weeks go by and nothing happened. And suddenly the little girl started painting the face and still nothing happened. And then suddenly she came downstairs with the wig on her. And from that day on, they were connected. And I think that people don't understand the psychology behind helping a child. It's like anything that they're going through that's difficult. They've never been there. They don't have the file system. They don't have the psychology and the ability to really figure this out. And your loving compassion as a stylist for Wigs for Kids, but also as a mom, I think that worked out to be just an incredible experience. What did you get out of it in doing the Wigs for Kids program as a stylist?
It's been amazing. I've met some really beautiful people through this journey, and just being able to sit there and relate with the moms and just say like, hey, I'm walking this journey with you. Like, I understand this is hard, or, even just sharing stories on how your child is processing the fact that they don't have hair, but a lot of people do. Sharing those stories and being able to just be there and be present and encouraging these little girls. It's all the kids that I've worked with so far have been girls, but being able to even just encourage them. And I show them a little picture of my Desiree and just tell them like, hey, this was Desiree without her hair. And then I show her a picture with Desiree in her hair, and just being able to kind of even relate with that child to some extent, that I'm not just this person that's putting this cap on their head and measuring their head, and just kind of easing them into that. Like you said, it's more of that relationship that they now have to establish with this wig system. And I think every point of contact along the way is going to just help make that easier for the child if they feel comfortable. So as a stylist, the people you're touching them way more than I think we ever give ourselves credit for. You get to kind of be really personal with them. Sometimes you hear some of their deepest, darkest situations, and just being passionate about helping and caring for them and helping walk that journey a little bit with them. It may only be for a short season, but during that short season, like, just be present when they're in your chair. Yes, I know social media can be such a big part of everything, taking the right pictures and the right angle and this and that. But I think from a stylist standpoint, just sometimes listening and just being present with them as they're going through a situation, I think that would be the biggest thing. And if it's ever something that you were wondering if you wanted to be like more involved, or how you could get more involved with helping kids that are going through hair loss for one reason or another, this is a great program to do it. And you guys give us so many tools to be able to do it so easily. So I would just say take that jump and actually take the course and just do it, because it really is worth it. It really is just an honor to be able to be a part of it.